So you've decided to play Kiriko. You've already swapped your left and right click, marveled at her unique get-up animation, and equipped her funniest voice line.
Wait till you see me on my bike.
But this gift to the weeb community isn't exactly easy to learn, so let's get started. Firstly, it's important to know that her healing potential is better than Jesus with access to penicillin, as with no need to reload, her effective single target healing is nearly the highest in the support roster. Pretty good for an ability with more range than the average North Korean missile strike. With this in mind, these leaflets for your local dry cleaner tend to take their sweet time making their way to your target, so it's often advantageous to pre-fire players who are lining up to do something especially stupid, so you can keep them healthier than your geography teacher, who walks at 3 times the speed of a regular person. As you might imagine, Kiriko's impressive single target healing makes her ideal for pocketing equally impressive teammates, because at the end of the day, your job isn't to carry the team, it's to help some other guy do the heavy lifting. They're just a free win, waiting to happen. Although healing will probably be the right thing to do in most circumstances, other situations call for a more hands-on approach to dismantling the enemy. To this end, Kiriko is equipped with an ancient gardening tool, which happens to deal absolute bulk damage when inserted into the head. Critical hits with these things can turn fights on their own, which is why just aiming these Call of Duty throwing knives at head level will usually result in free picks. If an overconfident flanker makes the poor assumption that you're going to be easier to kill than the average Zen player, then it's your prerogative to show them exactly how mistaken they can be. In many cases, Kiriko is an incredible force to be feared, and the enemy will know that the only thing stopping you from giving them an express ticket to the spawn room is because you're too busy healing your Hanzo with 4% accuracy. This massive damage potential not only makes Kiriko excellent for backline sleep executions, but if you're feeling especially confident, she can often shut down snipers that are having trouble trying to score body shots on your Roadhog. Most of the time, they'll only be exposing the one part of their body you're trying to hit anyway, and with no drop-off damage, no matter the range, you can become the change you want your damage players to make in the world. In fact, Widow in particular is just a fucking snack to a Kiriko player, as in a close range duel, the only way they can win is to either zip the fuck out immediately or under 1 in 100 headshot at point blank. If you see an unattended Widow, it's usually worth it to pay her a friendly visit, because your odds for a free kill aren't really getting any better. Alternatively, just spamming down choke points can often be enough to score free kills if RN Jesus is on your side, and quite often, you'll end up throwing these things to hit heads you were never even aiming to dink. We now get to her teleport, which is pretty much a get out of jail free card on a very generous cooldown, kind of like having OJ Simpson's team of lawyers on retainer. Most of the time, you'll want to have this shit available for when death has become an absolute certainty. However, Kiriko is also very uniquely equipped to peel for the rest of her team. At any second, you're able to jump to a player in distress, heal them immediately, and prepare to witness a near lethal dose of salt as the enemy curses your entire fucking bloodline. An underrated feature of this ability is that because of how many of the maps are laid out, you can often skip an incredible amount of walk time when coming back from the spawn room. If getting picked is unavoidable, you might as well give yourself a spawn advantage. We now come to her patented shower in a can, which heals a small amount of health, cleanses all negative effects, and makes all teammates invulnerable to damage for its admittedly tiny duration. This shit is the absolute bane of a Reinhardt player's existence, as quick thinking can mitigate all damage from a charge, usually leaving him with nothing to show for his risky behavior. However, this becomes even crazier when Kiriko can just shatter her entire team, essentially cancelling one of the strongest ultimates with the single push of a button. Alternatively, her spooky mode can be used more offensively, allowing high value ultimates to become impossible to counter, making sure the one good thing your Reaper does all game won't get countered by a random sleep dart. Although not ideal, the ability can also be used to give yourself an advantage in a one-on-one duel, as often your ability to self-heal can make all the difference when you find yourself in a fight to the death. After all, if you can outlive any single attack in the game, you'd be stupid to not abuse this power at every opportunity. On a side note, the Forbidden Sock also has a slight knockback on impact, meaning if the stars align and you pray to a higher power, you might just score yourself one of the spiciest eliminations in the game. The combination of Cleanse and Teleport can literally save you from what would otherwise be certain death for any other character, and as a general rule, you should most fear attacks that can end your life without any prior warning. Much like everyone in Australia looks like an extra in Breaking Bad, the Japanese characters in the Overwatch lore can apparently just run up walls whenever they like. This can be excellent to pressure snipers who might not have the advantage in a point-blank fight, but it also has some more demoralizing applications. In general, most players have a much harder time aiming vertically as opposed to on flat ground, and when combined with your magic gamer shower, you'll often be able to stall objectives for longer than it took Blizzard to finally release Overwatch 2 in the first place. In a process as simple as just climbing up and down a single wall, many enemies will truly struggle to take you down, eventually allowing your team the opportunity to redeem themselves for putting you in this situation in the first place. We now come to her ultimate, which temporarily turns your team into bloodthirsty substance abusing maniacs. If you give this power to pretty much anyone on the roster, they'll become single-handedly strong enough to take down any small to medium-sized government, and they'll do so with a huge smile on their face. While using this ability, you often need to make a choice between healing and attempting to score eliminations yourself, either of which are viable options. With a more supportive role, your healing output is increased to nearly 120 HP per second, making it nearly impossible for an enemy to kill your pocketed target. Alternatively, in most cases, you'll now be a fair amount stronger than most squishy targets you're likely to face, and by focusing who you want dead, you can usually take out the damage dealer, who spent the last 5 minutes trying to hunt you down. The support role as a collective doesn't usually have the carry potential of their counterparts, but rather, supports act as an amplifier for the capabilities already present in your team. An exceptional support player can make a good team great, and a great team unstoppable, but this also means you have to work with the cards you've been given. With this in mind, Kiriko has a high level of carry potential for her role when she's given the opportunity to work her literal magic. The easiest way for players to extract maximum value is to assassinate targets that you probably have a decent chance to take down. Snipers are excellent to single out for this treatment, as opening with a single well-placed headshot will get you over halfway to a kill without trying, but this doesn't mean you can't pick fights with other characters if you're feeling more confident. A huge advantage of Kiriko is that her role of a support makes her far less intimidating than a frontline damage dealer or an enormous tank taking all the aggro. A lot of the time, players will ignore you completely for not being an immediate threat, which will allow you to get a few cheap shots into their skull before they've realized their horrible mistake. For whatever reason, people love to ignore Kiriko overall, and if you can become especially non-threatening, you might just be able to take an objective for free. With this in mind, mechanical skill can only carry you so far, and strategic players can do absolute work on this hero if they can start predicting what the enemy is likely to do next. For example, Kiriko's ultimate is usually a formal invitation for an enemy Reinhardt to shatter your team, so by stepping away from your own ultimate, you can bait the enemy into activating your trap card before you nullify their ultimate completely. Kiriko players have the potential to counter pretty much anything, but they need the foresight to know when a player might go for a particular play and what might convince them to do so. Godlike reaction speed is entirely irrelevant for a person who can outright predict the future. Using the knowledge attained during this guide, you'll now be able to make your team impossible to kill, become more elusive than a drug dealer to the IRS, and murder your enemies, who will consistently underestimate your level of threat. Subscribe for more guides from a channel with a serious identity crisis. But until next time, have fun and embrace the bullshit.